Take my hand. I'll lead you into death. By a Whisper in the Shadows, on AU3. Episode 18, Chapter 10. They arrive back to the Aizawa Yamada residence just after 8. Shouta gracefully thanks Sukachi for the lift home as the two boys got out the car. He had offered for him to come in as another familiar face for Midoriya, along with Bakugou, but the detective denied, informing him he still had a lot of paperwork to go through. The part of the job no one enjoyed. "If you need anything, just call," Sukachi said, before Shouta closed the door and he was driving away. He made his way towards the boys, watching as Bakugou tried to encourage Midoriya forward, the latter standing unmoving at the bottom of the stairs. Again, Shouta noticed how stiff he stood, how his eyes moved everywhere, sharp and calculating. He clenched and unclenched his fists, as if remembering not to at the last moment. He shifted unsteadily on his still bare feet, the ankle monitor large and uncomfortable looking. Shouta approached them, steps louder, purposely, walking ahead of them to the door. When he turned around, Midoriya was still watching the unfamiliar building warily, while Bakugou flicked between his teacher and his friend. "This is my home, Midoriya. You're okay. It's safe. Come on now," he said, trying to allow his voice not to betray his own nerves. It must have worked, for after a moment, Midoriya followed him up the steps, Bakugou right on his heel. Once inside, he gave Midoriya a spare pair of his own slippers, so they sat silently, larger on him. Midoriya watched them with interest as they removed their own shoes. A clatter from further inside the house had Midoriya reeling back towards the door, eyes wide. Shouta put his hands up to placate him, one hovering over a scarf lightly. Hey. That's just my family, okay? They're not gonna hurt you, alright?" Midoriya's frantic gaze shifted to Bakugou, who gestured for Shouta to go first. So he did, followed by Bakugou, and then Midoriya, carefully behind, the two of them. Something else Shouta noticed was how quiet Midoriya could be, gracefully gliding over their floors despite the tense form and heavy anklet. Shouta could instantly tell his family were so nervous and stressed about the boy staying with them. Hitoshi was glaring at the table, arms crossed, legs tapping. From the looks of it, he decided he wouldn't be helping in the kitchen that night. Unusual for the kid. His husband was skidding around the place, serving up a selection of rice, noodles, curry, stir-fry, and who knows what else, clearly not knowing what foods Midoriya would like, and going overboard. He was muttering to himself, hands fluttering, hair disheveled. Eri just looked confused as her eyes darted between Hitoshi. She was biting her nails, a nervous habit she picked up when she felt she couldn't ask questions. One both Shouta and Hizashi had been trying to stop. The fact that Hizashi hadn't noticed her doing it was a clear sign of her own distress, as they usually tried encouraging all her questions. His daughter was also the first to notice their presence, eyes widening when she turned around. "Daddy!" she screeched, barreling over to him. He bent down, ready to catch her when she froze, eyes widening even further as she noticed the newcomer. Shouta glanced behind him to see Midoriya, hiding slightly behind Bakugou's larger frame, as if shielding himself. He watched Eri intensely, eyes always coming back to her, even as they scanned the room. When both Hitoshi and Hizashi came to stand behind Eri, Midoriya's eyes zeroed in on the two men, stepping back slightly. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. Hizashi at least tried smiling at Midoriya, who probably wouldn't notice it was fake. Shouta could tell it was strained, though he suspected it was more to do with Hitoshi than Midoriya, considering his eyes kept flickering to his son. For good reason, too. Hitoshi was openly glaring at the boy, something Shouta would have to have a word with him about. He could almost hear Bakugou snarling behind him, his protective nature showing in full force. Though he was clearly unhappy, Shouta could tell Midoriya was not what Hitoshi had been expecting. Shouta cleared his throat to draw the house's attention to him, giving Hitoshi a stern look. He didn't want his son to feel ostracized, but he needed him to understand the gravity of the situation, and there would be consequences for his hostility. "This is Midoriya Izuku," Shouta said, turning slightly and gesturing at the boy. He halted momentarily at the boy's bowed head as he kept his eyes to the floor. "Midoriya," he said in an attempt to get the boy's attention. Though he looked to Shouta, his head stayed down, as though he were expecting a strike. "Midoriya, this is my family. Hizashi, Hitoshi, and Shinsou. Hitoshi growled out, "You can call me Shinsou." Both parents were shocked at the hostility in their boy's voice. Bakugou physically growled from behind Shouta, who had to put a hand behind him to stop him from stepping forward as Hizashi reprimanded Hitoshi quietly. Eri, completely oblivious, or simply choosing to ignore the tension surrounding her, stepped forward with a hand outstretched. Though she was small and innocent, the movement was fast. Shota's heart jumped out of his throat at the mighty flinch he saw Midoriya give from the corner of his eye, going to grab his daughter from out of reach. It was only when he turned towards her he noticed Midoriya's flinch was away from the girl in a defensive manner, rather than going to attack her. Eri's eye filled with sadness for a moment before she moved slowly again, an air of determination surrounding her. Shouta held a hand up to stop Hitoshi from going for her. She smiled brightly at him. "Hi, you can call me Eri. Can I call you Zuzu?" she asked sweetly. Midoriya glanced at Shouta, and then Bakugou, a panic look in his eyes. Bakugou gave him a gruff nod to the boy before he went back looking at Eri, and nodded slightly to himself. She beamed at him, reaching her hand out slightly. Amused, just like Shouta had taught her to do with cats, Midoriya continued to stare at it, unsure of what to do with it. Bakugou sighed loudly before taking himself and lifting her other hand up. "Come on, Izuku. She won't hurt you. And I'm hungry as fuck. Really hungry. So take her hand and we could get this show moving," he grumbled. Midoriya stared at the joint hands for a moment before reaching a scarred one out himself, wrapping in Bakugou's earlier work. Shouta couldn't help but notice it shaking. Midoriya allowed himself to be dragged to the table, and though it seemed his eyes were watching Eri, it was clearly they were taking the new men in the room. Instantly, both husband and son's eyes narrowed on a certain scar on the boy's face, eyes widening fractionally. Shouta moved over to his husband, placing a small kiss on his cheek. "I'm going back to the dorms tonight," Hitoshi grumbled, which wasn't all that surprising. "Okay?" Hitoshi gave a soft nod before turning to join the other three. "Toshi, please. Please let it go for one night. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." Shouta watched the tension seep out of Hitoshi's shoulders, another slight nod as he moved away. Shouta shoved his face into his husband's shoulders, grumbling incoherently. Hizashi laughed lightly at his antics, kissing his forehead in return. "We knew it wouldn't be easy," he whispered gently. "You can say that again." Shouta groaned as they moved to sit down. Eri was cheerfully explaining all the dishes to Midoriya as Hitoshi watched him and Bakugou eyed Hitoshi. Midoriya was jumping between watching Eri's animated movements to the array of food in front of them. It took a few minutes after they had begun eating that they noticed something was wrong. Midoriya hadn't taken a bite. He hadn't even picked up his chopsticks or put something on his plate. "Midoriya?" Hizashi spoke gently. "Is everything all right?" Midoriya looked up at his husband, his usual blank face etched in confusion. He opened his mouth before closing it again, brows furrowing. He blinked a few times, looking back at the table. "I don't understand," he whispered finally. The table glanced at each other in confusion, before Hizashi spoke again. "What don't you understand, Midoriya? Is there something wrong with the food? Something you don't like? You don't have to eat it if you don't like anything, and we could get you something else," he explained patiently. Midoriya shook his head slightly. "No, I don't understand what this is. The words you... I've never seen any of this." His voice was quiet and stilled, fear laced in it. His eyes flickered stressfully to each person at the table who was watching him with his own anticipation, apart from Mary, who was happily eating away. Following a tense silence, Midoriya went ramrod straight, eyes gluing themselves to the table. "I'm sorry." Shouta snapped himself out of his stupor. "There's nothing to apologize for, Midoriya." He attempted to assure the boy, whose hands were being peeled apart by Bakugou, as he grumbled something under his breath. "What did you eat?" He acted out the movement. "Before all this." And if they felt shocked before, nothing would prepare them for the next words out of Midoriya's mouth. "I didn't." Hisashi's breath hitched, while the other three simply stared at the boy in shock. Even Eri had stopped eating, watching in confusion. "Okay," Shouta said slowly. "And what about at the hospital?" Midoriya thought for a moment before answering. Water. I know water. I think the white He stops himself. The doctor said soup as well. It was like water, but darker and, salty? He paused, looking at each of them as if debating if he would say what's on his mind. Before, I was given a lot of injections. I don't really know. I mean, I was never told. He very suddenly stopped talking, eyes wide before closing in on himself, face blank. Izuku? Bakugou tried encouraging him, but the boy had completely shut down, shoulders tight, shaking slightly. I can't. He choked out after a minute. I'm not allowed. I can't. He clenched down hard on his jaw, teeth grinding. Hey, little listener, it's okay. You don't have to tell us anything, alright? You're okay, but you need to calm down a little, yeah? Hizashi said, as gently as possible. A glance to Hitoshi showed him staring at Midoriya in shock and confusion. Shouta understood that. Nothing about Midoriya, after all, is to be expected. Slowly, Bakugou moved his hands forward in order to attempt to calm down. Shouta attempted a flinch of some sort of reaction. Instead, as Bakugou placed his hand on Midoriya's lap, the green-haired boy simply took it in his own hands and began tracing the boy's scars and calluses as he spoke lowly to himself. Slow. Shouta wasn't sure he was able to hear, even if he was right next to him. After a few minutes of silence, the young boy spoke again. I'm sorry. Hizashi dropped his head slightly in an attempt to catch the boy's eyes, smiling gently. You don't have to be sorry, Midoriya. We can start you on some soup and light vegetables, okay? I'm sure you'll come to enjoy eating. He laughed lightly. Eri then cleared her throat very loudly. They all turned towards her as she presented bright pink Hello Kitty chopsticks to Midoriya, clearly not having up at some point and returning to the table unnoticed. He gingerly took the training chopsticks out of her hand, staring at them, his other hand still holding Bakugou's wrists. These are what are used when I was learning how to use chopstick properly. I can use big ones now, though, so you can have them, and I can help teach you, she announced with a determined smile. Shouta couldn't stop his own smile making his way onto his face, hiding in his hands. Hizashi openly giggled, ruffling her hair. Midoriya just stared at the pink chopsticks in what Shouta could only describe as wonder. For me? He asked in that same broken awe he asked when Shouta presented him with the ugly, oversized tracksuit he still wore. Eri nodded enthusiastically. Thank you, he whispered softly, gripping them in his hands. And so began the introduction of food to Midoriya, a bizarre idea in itself. Even more bizarre when you see a battered, bruised, and bandaged assassin holding a pair of hot pink Hello Kitty chopsticks as he struggled to eat the chopped vegetables, eyes widening at the different flavors as he is reminded to eat slow and chew so he did not choke. Very bizarre, indeed. Though the tension filled and the mood improved slightly, there was still a somber ambience surrounding the table. Shouta would definitely have to talk with Hitoshi on his opinion, particularly after watching him stop eating and simply stare at the table, lost in thought. Bakugou as well, who had also stopped eating after he stared at Midoriya, not minding the boy's solid grip on his wrists. He sat with his husband later that night, discussing just how utterly bizarre the situation and Midoriya were. I mean, he had to be told how to chew, Sho. He's what, 17? Shouta took his hands in his so-so manner. He really needed to figure out the kid's age. 17. And he's never eaten food? He ate before he was taken, Hizashi. Remember what Bakugou said? His favorite food was katsudon because it started like Katsuki. Hizashi finished with a smile. Yeah, I know. He sighed heavily, a frown slipping back onto his face. It's still hard to imagine what he's been through. Like, you saw how much he closed up. It looked like he physically couldn't talk about it, like it was hurting him? Yeah, I noticed. The kid, he's a lot more complicated than what we were hoping for. This isn't gonna be simple, go to few therapy sessions and he'll be good. There's going to be a lot of baggage shit. Sashi, his own mother refused to call him her son. His first documented kill was his own father. Kami, I don't know how to go about this. This little listener has muscle scars, Sho. I know Hitoshi saw them too, and ugh. It's just frustrating because all day I was telling Hitoshi to give him a chance, that there was nothing else we could do in the situation, so we might as well just make it easy on each other. And I just feel like the biggest hypocrite because I'm scared too, you know? Midoriya, whether we like it or not, is still Reaper. Everything about this terrifies me. Yet I take one look at that kid's face, one look at him calming himself down from a panic attack because he thought we would be mad at him for not understanding how to eat, for something that was clearly, completely out of his control. I look at him and feel so guilty. They say together. I know what you mean. Shouta continued. I can't help but feel like this is our fault. You know, which is completely illogical. I haven't even heard of Midoriya Izuku's case until Bakugou, so there's no way we could have saved him, but... He inhaled deeply. I don't know, Sashi. Maybe this is our way of getting a second chance at saving the kid. Hizashi hummed and contemplative slightly, sipping his tea. It was a comfortable silence between them, both lost in their own minds about Midoriya Izuku. Oboro would have liked him, Hizashi whispered after a moment. Did you notice how he kind of acts like a cat? Shouta snorted, nodding his head. Oboro would just want to take him home. A little stray, and smother him with love. Shouta smiled genuinely. He would have. Again, silence filled the room, as the clock ticked closer to midnight. Though exhausted, Shouta enjoyed the peacefulness of sitting with his husband. A heavy weight landed on his lap as Pumpkin jumped on him. They had kept the cats away during dinner, adding one less stress to the mess. Shouta nearly laughed at the image of introducing Midori to the cats. He would already picture their heads tilting, eyes blinking at each other. It would be a good way of indicating trust. Animals always did have a sixth sense when it came to those things. Well, we didn't tell him about the rules. That's all she said after a few minutes. We could do that at breakfast. I don't think... Shouta was cut off as a soft voice called out to them. Daddy, Papa? Eri stumbled over, rubbing her eyes and yawning. Yeah, baby listener? Hizashi pulled her into his arms. Everything okay? You should be fast asleep by now. She yawned again. I was, but I got woken up. I think Suzu is upset. She mumbled out. Both men looked at each other before racing down the hall, Pumpkin hissing in protest at being let down, while Eri remained in Hisashi's arms. Shouta paused with one hand on Hitoshi's room, listening. Soft whimpers could be heard from inside, and Shouta reeled himself before pushing it open slightly. He could hear Eri protesting from behind him, but zoned them out, instantly focusing on the boy in front of him. Midoriya sat, curled in a ball, in a very corner of the dark room. He was rocking back and forth gently, humming an odd tune to himself, while soft whispers flowed from him. His fingers gripped deep into his hair as he pulled tightly on his curls. It was a startling, heartbreaking sight. Not wanting to scare the kid further into panic, Shouta flicked on the light hall first, illuminating the room just enough. With slow and deliberate, loud steps, he moved towards the shaking boy. Midoriya, he said gently. Midoriya, can you hear me? He got no answer, just the continued whimpering and humming as the boy started vacantly. Very slowly, Shouta moved a hand out to the boy. Midoriya, I'm gonna touch your leg, okay? I need you to come back to me, alright? Just as his fingers brushed the kid's knee, he gave a violent flinch. No! Midoriya screeched. Reeling so fast away from Shouta, he smacked his head against the wall behind him. Eri gave a small scream at the action from behind, but Shouta refused to keep his eyes on Midoriya. No, stop, please. I'll be good. I'll be good. Stop it, please, Papa. Don't. I'm sorry. I'll be good. I'm sorry. Midoriya kept repeating the phrases in a jumbled manner, eyes clearly not seeing as Shouta. There was something in particular Shouta locked on. Papa. He sorted that snippet of information in the back of his mind for late, needing to focus on the boy in front of him, who was now completely spiraling. Midoriya, you're safe. I'm not gonna hurt you, okay? Your name is Midoriya Izuku. My name is Shouta Aizawa, Eraserhead. You know me. I won't hurt you. Izuku, Izuku, you are safe. You know me. I'm Aizawa Shouta. You know Bakugou Katsuki. Kachan. You're not with Papa. You're safe, Izuku. Shouta continued to repeat a mantra of reassurances over the crying boy. Slowly, very slowly, they began to focus more on Shouta, repeating his words. Shouta left his hands out flat on the boy's leg, like Bakugou had done earlier, continuing to reassure. Hesitantly, the boy took his hands in his own, as he began tracing Shota's own scars and calluses. After what felt like hours, the boy had completely slumped against the wall, eyes still staring blankly. Shouta had moved slightly next to him, almost barricading him against the wall as Midoriya continued to trace his hands. Then, very quietly, a small apology escaped from the boy's lips. You don't have to apologize for being upset. Ever. Okay? I'm not mad at you. No one is going to be mad at you. Shouta took a deep breath, leaning heavily against the wall himself, watching Midoriya for a minute before speaking again. Can I ask what happened? Midoriya instantly stiffened, the grip on his hand almost painful. You don't have to tell me. Shouta quickly reassured. But if you do tell me, we might be able to prevent it. It took a minute of silence, one that stretched so long, Shouta thought Midoriya wasn't going to answer at all. The dark, he whispered. I don't like the dark. Shouta was no fool. He knew there would be a lot more to that statement than Midoriya just being afraid of the dark. He also knew that moment was not when he needed to go into that conversation. Before he could say anything to Midoriya, there was a high eep sound from the door, followed by a number of patters against, as Eri ran out of the room and back then. Eri's coming over, Shouta murmured, hoping to give the boy a little warning. He tensed fractionally as she paused next to him, but relaxed after a second. Eri fumbled with plugging in whatever she had retrieved. Once she got in, she gave a victorious squeal, turning the light night on. Instantly, the room lit up with tiny dots of lights. Shouta watched as Midoriya stared around the room in awe at the false stars. I have lots of night lights, Eri exclaimed proudly. I can sometimes get scared of the dark too. That's my one favorite, 'cause it looks like stars, and I love stars, so you can borrow it to make you feel better. Midoriya looked at Eri like she was the most perfect thing in the world. Shouta couldn't help the pride that swelled in his chest. Thank you, Eri. He choked, before putting a hand over his mouth. Do you want a hug? Hugs always make me feel better when I'm sad. Hizashi asked, kneeling in front of the boy, beside Eri. Midoriya stared at each of them, eyes shining. I don't know what... He trailed off, his voice catching, before looking at his knees. I'm sorry. I'm not allowed to cry. Of course you're allowed to cry, Midoriya. Shouta said softly, but still stern. You can cry here. We have to touch you in the hug. Is that okay, Midoriya? Izuku, he whispered. Can you call me Izuku, please? Okay, Izuku. He amended. It still stands. You're allowed to cry here. Would you like the hug? You can say no. But hugs are really great, and they'll make you feel better, loads better, and protect you from mean people who said you can't cry. Eri informed him with passion. Hesitantly, Midoriya nodded gently. Eri hugged him first, wrapping her small arms around his neck. He stiffened instantly, and Shouta was ready to pull Eri backwards, but then he lowered his forehead onto her shoulder. Hizashi joined behind Eri as they all leaned their weight onto Shouta, who grunted but said nothing, resting his hands, not held by Izuku in his curls. You're safe to cry, Izuku. Slowly, and ever so quietly, Izuku's shoulders began to shake as he cried silent tears. I'm crying. I don't think you understand. I'm actually crying. Because what the fuck? So I'm gonna explain why that is so fucking fucked up. To be taken such a small pleasure that is eating food in your mouth. Sure, they were probably still giving him the nutritions he needed. But how manipulative is it to take away something so small? You don't think about it in the everyday life. But imagine this. You're being tortured. You're having to do all of this shit that you hate. You are going through hell. But at least there's a time and day where you get to eat. Maybe it's not the greatest thing, but it's something. It's something that's not hurting you. It's something that's actively making you benefit. And it could be the difference between your mind absolutely breaking and you holding on for the very last second. Because a lot of the times, we hold on. Stockholm Syndrome is a reason. There's a reason for Stockholm Syndrome. We hold on to the littlest of pleasures we can. And the simple fact that bitch, because I'm not going to call him Papa, he's a bitch, took away something as simple as food. Basically making it so that Izuku has absolute no comfort anywhere other than his own goddamn solitude is absolutely fucking horrendous. I'm actually not okay. Like, actually. Oh god. This was not a good idea to record after my, 4 breakdowns. It wasn't mental health. Well, I mean, it was mental health stuff, but it wasn't, it was external stuff. It wasn't, I was fighting a website, okay? I was trying to make a website, and, I had 4 breakdowns because I was frustrated and upset. And now I'm really frustrated and upset again. Oh, okay. Alright. Let's all breathe. Breathe. As frustrating as that was, let's talk on a lighter note on this chapter. We had a lot of Eri and Izuku moments, and the whole time as I was sitting here and recording those moments, my whole thought process is how fucking adorable is that, right? I feel like Izuku and Eri are gonna very much click, especially because Eri would probably understand Izuku's pain to some degree. As horrible as this is to sound, I think Eri got the better end of the stick when it comes to this, because at the very least, I don't think... Look, sexual assault is one of the tags, and I'm scared. Was it sexual assault or was it R? I really hope it was reference/implied sexual assault, but sometimes some people put sexual assault, but they also mean the R word. So I really hope that it's just sexual assault. I really hope that it's not on Izuku, but judging by that, judging by pain and torture, judging by the fact that he was not even given something as fucking simple as food. It could be the most blandest shit, and that can be the difference between you going insane and your mind breaking, between that and you being somewhat okay. I feel like my mind is breaking. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. You know what this is giving me? Ideas. It's giving me fucking ideas. Okay. Okay. No, nothing you guys have to worry about. Campaign ideas. I need to talk to my DM. Willow's about to be happy. Hold up, I'm gonna text Willow, because texting Willow at 4 a.m. their time. So, I have an idea. And I'll finish that later. Oh, for a second I thought they went active. I was about to be like, what the fuck are you doing awake? Okay. Eri and Izuku, as hurt comfort as them bonding and them knowing and getting each other, it's heartwarming. Not only is Eri being more open because she probably doesn't know what Izuku did, and she probably also doesn't know of his past, but if they were to even tell her slightly, I feel like Eri would understand, would be like, I know what it was like, and if it was that bad, I would understand why he would do it. I feel like she would very much, back Izuku. Right? Because that's the thing. Sometimes we can judge, but once we're actually in those shoes, it's different. Right? I often see a lot of people talk about abuse victims, right? Victims of DV, victims. Maybe it's not, their significant others, maybe it's their family members, maybe it's their friends, whatever it is. Whoever is their manipulator in their life that is giving them bruises. I see a lot of people talk about how, why don't they just leave? It's so easy, just leave, right? Especially when it's like a friend who's doing it, right? I've seen that one where people are like, it's a fucking friend, just walk away. Like, it's not that bad, right? If it's a family member, people are less of the whole, oh, just walk away. They are more understanding. And then if it's a significant other, people are understanding, but I still see people say, why don't you just walk away, right? And as much as you want to understand it, as much as you can study, psychological-wise, why that happens, it's different when you're in those shoes. And that's why my heart goes out to anybody who's ever gone through anything similar. Anybody who's gone through anything like that, I understand you. To a degree that I don't even need to know psychology to know why you stayed. I could explain it in a way that I know your heart will understand, because part of you loves this person. And you don't want to throw away that. And sometimes it gets to the point where you feel as though you deserve it. And sometimes it's complicated, but I understand, right? So I understand how Eri and Izuku might look at each other and be, trauma bond. It's an actual thing that happens, right? Trauma bonding. When you find someone who has gone through a similar or the same experience as you've gone, right? Similar in the sense of like you were both victims of, let's say, manipulative parents, right? Parents who give you boo-boos, right? You trauma bond. You bond. Because you find someone else in your mind who understands you. And not just the, oh, I can see you. I understand you, quote unquote. The I see the shoes. Yeah, you see the shoes. But the shoes don't fit your feet. The shoes have never been on your feet. You've never had to be stuffed in those damn shoes. So you may see them, but you don't feel them, right? And that's not anything against the people who understand other people in this sense. I appreciate people who try to understand, right? I appreciate people who do understand. I appreciate people who do their research and understand and let victims talk, right? But it's different when you meet up with someone who's gone through something similar. You feel like you click. Because when you explain something, you don't have to fully explain it. If I were to go to someone who was sexually assaulted, who was a victim of SA, I don't have to explain to them why I stayed silent. I could simply just say, I couldn't, and the other person would be able to finish the sentence for me. And you know how gratifying that is? As a human being, we seek gratification. We seek similarities within each other. We seek companionship, and we seek... what's the word? We seek acceptance. And not only acceptance, but to be told that what you experience is valid. So when we meet someone else who not only says all that stuff, but could finish our sentences and not only, it doesn't even need to say, you are valid for having these feelings, you are valid for not leaving, obviously not in those same words, but similar. Instead of saying that is, yeah, I once didn't leave either. Or, yeah, that happened to me too. And that in a way is a way more powerful way of saying not only you're valid, but it's also you're valid because I went through it. You're valid because I say so and I went through it. It's not only just companionship in the sense of this person understands you, this person gets you. You don't have to fully explain what's going on in your mind and what you feel because the other person understands. It's a different type of trauma. It's a different type of bond. It's a trauma bond, right? It's also, that's the similarity trauma bond. You could also trauma bond across bond, like different types of traumas, but the most strong one that I could think of is obviously like similar traumas, right? So it could be like, you're both victims of SA, but this person who SA'd them was a random stranger on the street, and this person was their teacher. I don't know why teacher came to mind. Or, victims of manipulators. This one might have been their mom who gave them boo-boos, and this one it might have been their boyfriend who gave them boo-boos, right? It's different, but it's similar enough, right? Like, oh, you were a victim of violence, like some crime happened to you, and this other person is also a victim of a crime, but this one was held at gunpoint because of a robbery, and this one was in a school shooting, right? Different, but similar enough that you can understand each other's feelings. Obviously, there's enough differences where there's certain aspects where the other won't fully, like, be like, oh yeah, that happened to me and I know and I understand you completely, or I know how you felt in that moment. Obviously, right? Not to mention, we're different people with different experiences and different chemical reactions to stuff. So while one person might have froze, the other person ran, or, you know, stuff like that, right? But there's also the trauma bonding where you're both in the same traumatic event, right? So everybody in that school can trauma bond over that experience. Anyways, so I'm really excited to see Eri and Izuku trauma bond over that. That's going to be really exciting to see. It's going to be really exciting to see. I'm still reeling over the fact that Izuku was not given food. Alright. Enough of that. Let's do some lightheartedness here because I definitely need it. So I've already asked what your guys' favorite color is, your favorite flower. You know what? Let's go in the comments and talk about something. Talk about a goal that we all have for this year. Or not a goal. That's too specific. Tell me something good that happened. It could have been 3 weeks ago. It could have been a year ago this happened to you, but it was really good and monumental in your life, and you thought about it and you're like, oh my god, I love this. For me, I'm gonna have to say you guys. It's cheesy, but you guys are the most monumental thing in my life. I mean, you guys are making it so that I don't have to work a 9 to 5. Obviously, I still kind of do. YouTube does not pay well, but with the certain videos that get money and stuff like that, I can slowly, I'm building up to that point, and you guys are making it so that that is an option for me in the future, and I appreciate that a lot. I don't think you guys understand that. Not to mention, even if that wasn't an option, like, let's say I'm not monetized, I don't give a shit. You guys are so lovely. You guys listen to me rant. You guys like my psychology corners for some goddamn reason. Why do you guys love my psychology corners? Y'all need to see a therapist or something? You got something to say? You got trauma is what you got, don't you? Yeah, that's what I thought. You got trauma. Yep. I saw it from the day I saw you. You all are all traumatized in one way, shape, or form, aren't you? Okay, anyways, I'm sorry. I don't know what the fuck that was. But apart from that, apart from the monetization and having the possibility of one day not having to work a 9 to 5, one day having this be my actual job, like talking to you guys, making videos, making a bunch of different other contacts and stuff like that, which is why I'm also making separate content that is not just Podfic. It's why this the Certified Yappers Association is gonna come soon. Rec Corner is something I'm working on as well, but currently I have not been working on another project. I have been working on finalizing my merch shop, which I think I post the video by this point of this video uploading. So if I did, I've been working on that for a while. That's the website that I mentioned earlier that I was having a breakdown for. Yeah, I've been working on that shit for a little too long. I've been having breakdowns. Shopify was so fucking hard to work with. I tried this other one. It was like a red logo. That one was also so fucking hard to work with. And then I finally found one where I actually really liked the website I built. Everything was really great. And then shipping and taxes and all my fucking, it was so hard to goddamn do. Anyways, enough about that. But Certified Yappers Association will be coming. I'm mainly yapping just to keep you guys off of being tearful, because I know I damn well am like 1 minute off of having a yappers, not a yappers fest, a sobbers fest. Right, Certified Yappers Association, which I hope is coming Saturday. I'm trying to figure out I'm gonna first work on fanfiction club, right? Gonna finalize that. I have one video that's recorded that I have not yet uploaded that is recorded. I'm gonna get that up and running, and then I'm gonna record some videos by myself. And after I'm done with that, and after I have a good goddamn long, I'm gonna set in stone that every week me and my team need to record something every week without a fail, on every Saturday or Sunday every weekend without a fail. And then I'll then probably work on Rec Corner. Rec Corner, something's gonna come. I either could call it Rec Corner or Rec Cloud. What do you guys want to call it? Rec Cloud or Rec Corner? What are we feeling? Rec Corner, Rec Cloud? I want to know. I'll probably ask the Discord and stuff like that. After that, I'm gonna be working on what's it called? One-shots. I think one-shots are either gonna take up Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. One-shots are the last thing I'm gonna work on though. And then obviously I'm working on the revamp series at the moment. I'm not doing any revamped fics that I've already done. I'm doing revamped versions of fan fictions that I've written, mainly because I want to work with that. Revamp series is going to be with voice actors and sound effects. So it's going to be completely new experience in podficking. From what I can tell and what I've seen, I have not seen anyone else. I've seen someone else do sound effects, but like it's not really... I think I've only seen one person do sound effects, and I haven't seen them do sound effects since. But I haven't seen someone do like heavy sound effects. And when I mean heavy sound effects is, I mean, if the story is depicting that they're in the mall, you're going to be hearing mall ambulance, right? I'm going to be working on that. It's going to be a whole lot better on mine, because even if it doesn't say they're in the mall and I know that that scene happens in the mall and it's just roughly said there, where it could be like overpasses, like, oh, where were they? I don't know where they are. They're just walking. Where are they? You're going to hear mall ambulance. But not only is there going to be sound effects, is there going to be really good narration, because I'm going to fine-tooth comb that shit. Those videos are going to take me way longer to record and edit and produce, because not only, obviously I don't let my lisps come out in these videos, but I don't proof that no lisps came out. For that one, I am definitely going to have proof. Like, I'm going to get in a goddamn VC. Well, maybe I won't proof it, but I'm definitely going to be way more cautious when recording, right? Way more cautious. I'm going to be way more specific. Like I'm going to just up my narration game and stuff like that. Not to mention, because it's not like I have to freaking get it out every single day. Those are going to be a whole lot more chiller. And then obviously apart from that, we're going to have voice actors. We're going to voice act, and I'm going to have so much fun with that, right? Not only were you guys getting really cool narration from me. I mean, I already do. Basically, it's just going to be the same narration as this, except if I feel that paragraph could have done more emphasis, I'm going to re-record it, even if it was perfect. And I'm going to have more time to sit down and chill with it, you know? But not only that, I'm also going to be working on voice acting and sound effects. So you guys are gonna have voice actors, sound effects, and some really cool narration. And those are not gonna have outros, apart from the, you know, whatever. And then I'm probably gonna put some credits. I'm seeing how I'm gonna do credits for all the people who are voice acting. Definitely, I want to see how the people want their shout out to be or whatever. Probably have their social medias in the description and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of credits in the description. The description is going to be really long. Not only am I going to be crediting out the author who wrote this, I'm going to be crediting out not only all the information for the author and the fic, all the information for the voice actors, and then all my information. My information is going to be all the way at the bottom, because it's going to be all the way at the bottom. So I hope you guys are really hopeful for that. That's probably not going to come for a while. I think the only ones that are going to be getting uploads as it gets produced are going to be the ones that I am physically writing. So think Fluffy Mind is one that I'm going to start doing up soon. That's the one that I'm looking at starting up first with, Fluffy Mind. So we're going to get Fluffy Mind revamped. I know I did podfics for Fluffy Mind and I haven't done them since. The reason why I haven't done them because I have updated some fics not updated, I have added some chapters, is because I have been working on this in the behind the scenes. So I really hope you guys are going to be enjoying that. So you have all that to look forward to, and don't think about how Izuku was starved. Well, he wasn't starved. He got food. He just got taken away the simple pleasures that is food. Okay, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.